What is up, chocolatiers? Welcome back to another video. We're talking about Whistle today. If you're confused while there's no mic, while you're hearing background audio, that's a longer story to tell, but long story short, Amazon sucks. So let's go and get right into it. If you hear anything else, like I said, that's what it is. I'm gonna try to talk louder. So Whistle is starring Dafne Keen and technically Nick Frost. I guess you would say he's not really in the movie like that, like I thought he was gonna be. And it's from, I think, IFC films and stuff like that, and so I like a lot of their horror movies. And so I was pretty excited to see this one. Not excited to see the show times that my theater is going to have. This weekend they only have one a night, and it's at 10 o'clock. I was like, you had the whole day? We could add some ones, we could add some fours. No, they're like 10 o'clock is what time we want to show this film only. And there's films like Mercy that they still at least have 2 show times for. Make that make sense. This is a new film. Can't help it. So I saw this one a little bit later, right after Strangers Chapter 3, which could be the reason why I like this movie a little bit more than most people. But yes, I thoroughly enjoyed this film. Dafne Keen plays this girl who just lost her father. She's living with her cousin. And at the beginning of the film, you get like this really cool synthetic type intro that I really love, because I really love the vibe of this movie. That's one of the things that one of the key takeaways I want to talk about is about how this vibe of this movie is very like kind of like retro while being like also, you know, modern times, modern day. And in the intro, you get a character getting killed, and you get like some, you know, little clues about the whistle and stuff like that. And she ends up getting his locker since she's new to the school, and she finds the whistle in there. And I thought it was going to be stupid initially going into it, because, you know, even the poster's like, don't blow it. And I was like, well, that's dumb. I was like, if you have to blow it each time, I was like, that doesn't make sense. But what happens is that they all kind of get like a Breakfast Club thing where they get detention, this group of them with Dafne Keen and her cousin. And this one girl ends up blowing it. And because they all hear the sound, that's how it works. If you hear the sound, then you're going to get like a crazy Final Destination type death. And what I really love is that there's a kind of a twist in this movie, which I feel like I have to talk about. So I will throw this out here, a little minor spoiler, I guess, if you care about that. I thought that it was going to be like some ghosts, some demons, something like that, right? But what it is that the movie kind of explains within, which I appreciated, by the way. They didn't do the Blumhouse thing where they spent 15 minutes of the runtime explaining stuff. They spent about 5. And I was like, I appreciate that film. Basically, this old woman's explaining to them, and she's letting them know, she's like, hey, like, you're going to die no matter what, right? Like, let's say you die by stage 4 lung cancer. Let's say that you're going to die in a car crash or old age or something like that. Eventually, you're going to die, right? You can't escape death, like kind of Final Destination. But like she was saying is that whatever shows up is kind of how you're going to die. So for example, in the intro scene, this one boy dies by getting set on fire, right? And so around the time that he's supposed to be like 40 years old or so, he's supposed to like catch on fire. I can't remember like what they kind of thought was going to happen, but that's kind of what happens to him. And so in the film, that's where you get a lot of the cool deaths, because for example, one character, she dies like when she's 90. So there's like a 90-year-old version of her who looks really creepy and scary, who's crawling like on all fours, trying to get her and turn her into a 90-year-old and kind of kill her. And I think the coolest death in the film belongs to a character who is basically kind of like having like he drunk drives a lot in this film, and I was kind of, damn, I say that's kind of crazy. And I noticed whenever his person kept showing up, they're like the same age as him, and that's because he was supposed to be in a drunk driving accident, I guess, in the next year or so. And so when they blow the whistle, when they hear it, it kind of speeds that process up. So for example, like the 90-year-old woman, instead of waiting until she's 90, it's like, oh, I found you now. And I really, really enjoyed that premise. I thought that was really cool. You get a lot of special effects, for example, to make them look older, younger, cut up, beat up, whatever. And I thought that was really, really cool. There's a couple times where I do some things that I really, really enjoyed with the effects, with the practical stuff, with the CGI. For example, there's one they have to do a little bit of CGI on, which is crazy. There's a lot of cool deaths in this film. There's some that are kind of tame. Like, for example, 2 characters, I swear, like one of them was like, I had a seizure, and I was like, okay. Like, but I think it's cool. I think it's fun. The film knows how to have a whole lot of fun. Now I do want to get into my complaints though, because even though I had a lot of fun with this movie and I enjoyed it, this movie is far from perfect. For starters, I'm going to start with the characters. I really enjoyed the cousin. And I'm going to be honest, that's about the only character that I really was like, oh, I really like that guy. Dafne Keen I liked in this film, but she's one of those, you know, kind of like mucho, like protagonists where she's like, you know, I'm kind of like playing hard to get, but like, you know, I'm not going to let you in or whatever. And even when she does, she's not giving like a whole range of like emotion. And so, because she's very much like, if you've seen The Craft, very much like that one girl in the group. I can't think of her name right now, but she's very like kind of like gothic and kind of stoic. And she's kind of there, right? Like she is the main character, but she's not getting off that main character type energy. And then when we look at some of the other characters, there's like, for example, two of them are like kind of supposed to be unlikable, and they really are. This one character in particular, the black guy, they really do a great job. That actor does an amazing job. You really hate that guy. You really do. He's an awful person. And it's just one of those things where, as cool as that is, as much as I loved it, even like there's kind of like a side villain, which is really cool. I really like that side plot. It really just kind of made me sit there and think, okay, I don't really enjoy these characters like that. I really do love the soundtrack in this film as well. There's kind of like this like synth wavy type beat kind of like going on in the background. There's also a lot of older music they play because Dafne Keen's character listens to a lot of her older music from her father, from his vinyls and stuff. So you get a lot of that. You get a few jump scares here. Some of them work, some of them feel kind of cheap. But I will say this though, overall, I still think I really like this movie. I think the glaring complaint I have with this film were the adults. Outside of Nick Frost, who is a teacher of theirs, which is the reason why they get in detention, was the reason why they kind of learn about what the whistle is and stuff like that. Like, he's about the only adult we see. It's very reminiscent of, like, for example, like Dafne Keen, I said she's living with her cousin. Like he's driving to school, he's taking her breakfast and this and that, and like you only see one room in their house. And so it gets to a point where I'm kind of thinking to myself, I was like, this, like, for example, there's one night where one of the characters died, and like Dafne Keen's upstairs with this other girl that she likes, and the one boy, her cousin, is like on like the porch or whatever. He's like, you know, brooding or whatever, and it's raining. And I'm just sitting there thinking the whole time, I was like, is his parents home? Like, are they hearing this going on? Or like, whatever, being teenagers. The only parents that you see in this film are the black parents of the black boy. And it makes sense why you see them, because when we get to something that happens to him, you're like, oh shit, yeah, of course his parents will be here for that. But like, there's so many times where like stuff's happening, I'm just like, are your parents home? Like, why is this whole town, like, you mean to tell me kids are showing up dead? Like, imagine showing up dead and you're like you're 17, right? And you show up dead and your teeth are like comeback records of like a 40-year-old. That's suspicious. Maybe the cops need to do their job. What are we doing? And there's so many times where I'm just thinking, why are the parents fine with this? They just kind of turning a blind eye. I don't know what's going on. But yeah, that was like a real glaring problem for me, where I was like, I'm not seeing any other adults at all in this. And I'm not saying it's make or break. I know a lot of old school horror movies do that, where like you don't see the parents, whatever, this and that. But in this particular instance, I feel like we should have seen more than one. Like, even like that, they make a ploy to tell you about one of the parents. Like this one girl, her little brother comes in and he's like, oh, mom says to come out of the pool or whatever. And I'm just kind of like, okay, well, we know she's a mother. But it's just weird that we'd ever see them, especially with like the way they're acting, stuff that's happened to them, especially with it's being awful deaths that they're experiencing. I just feel like there should be a presence. Also, because most of these characters are leaving crime scenes, are they not leaving DNA behind? Like, I just feel like there should have been another element to this film, because it's like, damn, you really just like broke in, did this, you killed. Like, for example, at the end of the film, I just want to know how people get out of this situation they get out of, but they just don't talk about it, and the movie goes off. And so this movie is it's far from perfect, but I really enjoyed it. I think the horror elements are fun. I think that there's a lot here to enjoy. I think the synthwave beats, I think the old school nature. I really love the intro as well. I think that there is a lot here to enjoy. It's just far from perfect, and I just want to talk about that, right? But I still think this is a 7.5 out of 10 for me. I think even though it's far from perfect, those are like, even like the parent thing, that's just like nitpicking, right? But I do think there should have definitely been some kind of other element, and I do think that the characters should have not necessarily been more likable, because I get it, but like at least Dafne King, I feel like she should have had more to do. Like with her being the main character, so many times like, oh, that's right, she's the main character. Like she was kind of there, I feel like. But yeah, really enjoy this film. I think you should definitely check it out, especially over Strangers Chapter 3. And so if you have, comment down below, let me know your thoughts on this film, and like, subscribe for more, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.
If you hear the whistle scream,